Let's keep things rolling here on Cincinnati Bengals Talk with someone that we've talked to, for quite some time, and you're certainly familiar with him. He's Solomon Wilcots, former Bengal. Obviously, you hear him on the Believe in Bengals podcast. You also hear him on Sirius XM, and he's on with us now. Solomon, I appreciate the time as always. I know you're busy at Radio Row. Sort of bummed we're not there this year, of course, like we were last year talking in person. What did you make of the Bengals season this year, making another run towards to the AFC title game, but obviously coming up a tad short of the Super Bowl?
Well, James, I thought the Cincinnati Bengals gave us this season where they reeled off 10 straight wins. They won 13 of their last 15 games before arriving to the AFC Championship game. It started off kind of shaky, right? Joe Burrow has to make it interesting. He wanted to have this appendectomy surgery before he dove into the season. And we kind of started off the season on pins and needles. But once they kind of gathered themselves after that Monday night game in Cleveland, there was no looking back. And it goes to show you how good this team can really be when we're healthy and when we're dialed in. But more importantly, when we've got Joe Burrow, I think we've got a chance to win each and every Sunday. Now, look, still want to see them shore up the offensive line. At the end of the day, these games are coming down to whether or not we can protect them. If we can protect them, we can win. If we can't protect them, we have a hard time winning. So really, it does come down to that.
Is that what you're looking at this offseason as the one thing? If there was one thing, of course, there's many that the Bengals probably want to address and improve upon. But adding more offensive line depth, is that number one for you?
I think we just got to get better, and then we got to stay healthy, right? We got to continue to grow the offensive line through the draft. And that means we're not going to be able to go out and buy an offensive line like we did last year, because now the focus has got to be keeping Tee Higgins, making sure that we keep Jermaine Pratt, who's also poised to hit the free agent market. Hayden Hurst, man, I'd love to see him come back. And if we're going to lose one of our safeties, you can't lose them both. You got Jesse Bates and Von Bell about to hit the free agent market. I'd love to be able to keep one of them. It's really about we become so good. Man, we might even lose our defensive coordinator in Lou Anarumo. So it's going to be either about keeping the guys that we have or being able to grow and build from within to replace them.
How important do you think it would be to keep Von Bell? I might be wrong about this. I just think Jesse Bates is going to get a huge offer from another team. The Bengals have tried to keep him and vice versa. It just hasn't worked. But how valuable would Von Bell be to re-sign for a guy like Dax Hill?
Look, I'd love to keep Von Bell because I think he's a great player. He doesn't give up any plays. He's so rock solid. He's older than Jesse Bates. So 10, general managers and team builders like Duke Tobin, they tend to lean on younger players than older player, given all things are equal. So say if both guys sort of warrant the same kind of pay compensation or the same contract, probably going to go with the younger of the two. But look, if you got to keep one, I don't care which one it is. I love them both. I don't want to have to make that choice. That's why Duke Tobin's job's not real easy, particularly as this team has gotten really good trying to decide who to keep, who to let go. That's going to be one of the challenges that we're going to be facing, I think, for several years.
You mentioned Tee Higgins and keeping Tee Higgins. Is it fair to say you want to see this team keep Joe Burrow, Tee Higgins, and JaMarr Chase together long-term?
No, I think you have to do that, right? And we can do it. I mean, we got $44 million under the salary cap. The cap is going up to about $225 million for the upcoming season. So they do have the resources to keep Tee Higgins and re-sign Joe Burrow to a contract extension, because you can push some of it out. You got to be able to get some of it off the books now, and then still have enough in reserves to re-sign JaMarr Chase next year. We can get that done. It's just a matter of what those contracts are going to look like and what percentage of the cap do you give to the quarterback and to his two receivers.
That's the interesting thing to me when it comes to Burrow's contract. I have no doubt that Mike Brown and Katie Blackburn and the Bengals are going to get it done. We know Burrow wants to be here, but how does that contract look? What does it look like? How is it structured? Is it
50 million? That's what I can just tell you right now. If you're gonna balk at 50 million, then just let him go and watch how quickly somebody else gives it to him.
I agree. I agree with you completely. I think 50 million, no doubt. But is it 4 years, 50 million per? Is it 8 years?
I think if you're smart, well, think about this. Think about what the Chiefs did with Patrick Mahomes.
Yep.
Know what they did? 10 years, 450 mil. Now, a lot of people are like, oh, that sounds like a lot of money. You know what he's making every year? About 45 mil a year. At the time when he signed it, that was the most money per annum, right? It's certainly the most money over time. Mm-hmm. But now that it doesn't even factor in the average of the top 5 annual salaries of the top 5 quarterbacks in the NFL. That's how quickly the scale moves. The market moves rapidly. So that's why you have to lock him up to a long-term deal. You spread that money out over time, over 10 years. And look, and with each and every year, the average annual salary for the quarterback, it's actually going to end up being below market. Mm-hmm. And to get Joe Burrow at below market is unheard of. But that's the kind of thinking that you're going to have to do. You're going to have to be very creative, and it's going to have to be a long-term contract. And why wouldn't you sign Joe Burrow to a 10-year deal? Why would you sign him to a 5-year deal when you can sign him to a 10-year deal and then have that average come down each and every year to the point where now you're playing with house money because you're having below the mean, below that average number.
10 years, 550 million.
There you go. Now you're talking. See, James, you just learned some serious economics as it pertains to the NFL, because that was a good number you threw out.
I do wonder if he would be willing, right? In some wonder that because he could maximize his value by signing a shorter term deal and then testing free agency again or being up again in a few years when the cap is higher.
Why would he want to test free agency?
Why would he want to test it if you offer him 550 million? Who said no to that before?
Look,
I know I wouldn't.
Look, I think we, this is my broadcast partner, Mikey. I think we can all agree. You think about the way Joe Burrow has attacked his career. You don't see his face plastered over commercials. You don't see him endorsing every single product out there. Because if he was chasing money, I mean, that's easy. I mean, you could tell. No, he's chasing wins. He's a legacy play. This guy really is about winning games. And so if we talk about him testing the free agent market and chasing money, now he can end up on a team that's worse. He can end up on one that's better. But you and I both know, I think he cherishes the relationships that he has with Zach Taylor. He cherished the relationship that he has with JaMarr Chase. He cherished the relationships that he's built with Tee Higgins and Hayden Hurst and some of those core group of guys. I think when someone asked him, what is the window for winning a championship here in Cincinnati? He said, that's my career. I believe him when he says it. He was talking about his career with the Cincinnati Bengals. And he didn't have them go and draft his college teammate so that he can up and leave them. So that's the logic, right, that we're working with. I know a lot of fans like to throw out a lot of, he could do this, he could do. Joe Burrow's been very transparent with many of us. He came to Cincinnati to do business, and his business is about winning championships.
Love that answer. I hope you're right, because it's been fun covering Joe Burrow, and for the next decade, who wouldn't want to continue that? Solomon, you mentioned your broadcast partner there. You're joining us on behalf of Composure. So please tell us more about Composure and what the work they do and what you're doing over there.
Yeah, James. So we're here at the Super Bowl. We're talking a lot about stress and anxiety. It's one of the biggest problems facing our society today. Stress rates are through the roof. We're a Cincinnati-based company, Medela Springs Healthcare, and we really took a look at ourselves and said we have to do something here. So we put together a small group of medical doctors, pharmacists, and PhDs to develop a product specifically designed for those moments in our lives where stress begins to overtake us and we're not the best version of ourselves. And that's where Calmposure was born. And Calmposure it's really the first product in the market for situational stress and anxiety. The uniqueness of the product is that it's made up of 14 different ingredients, and those 14 different ingredients actually work together to balance out the stress hormones in the body and promote overall calmness. Because if left untreated, those stress hormones can go get us completely out of whack. We're given a presentation, all of a sudden we can't remember the words. Well, we wrote the darn thing. Nobody knows the content better than we do, but stress is overtaking us, and it's not allowing us to be as productive as we normally would be. And probably the number one thing that's nice about this product, in addition to the efficacy, is that it's drug-free and it's non-habit forming. And it's non-prescription, so it's available over the counter, very convenient for consumers.
And James, I'll go ahead and say that, I partnered with Medela Springs Healthcare because I too suffer from situational stress. Traveling the country and boarding airplanes and staying in hotels, developed a case of anxiety. And I was looking for something where I didn't have to go use a prescription drug. I wanted something that was more natural and more healthy while at the same time dealing with that anxiety. I would get on an airplane. I'm the kind of guy that needs to sit to the most forward part of the plane. I have to be in an aisle seat. If you put me in the middle, I'll start sweating. I start freaking out. I'm becoming claustrophobic. And we call those Calmposure moments, right? Where we start to experience stress and anxiety. And so I partnered with Mike, and we found something that works for me. I could take a couple of capsules before I even board the plane, and I can get through the flight and deal with it so much better. So there's a lot of people who deal with this, and we need to be more open and more honest about some of the things that we deal with in our day-to-day lives. So this has been a phenomenal product for me. You can use the website, go to calmposure.com, and don't forget to use the promo code touchdown. If you buy one, you get one free. It works for me, and I hope it'll work for you.
Yeah, that's calmposure.com, CALMPOSURE.com. Last thing for you, it is Super Bowl 57. It's a Bengals audience, but I have to ask, who do you both of you guys have in the game? Eagles, Chiefs?
I'm taking the Chiefs in this one. I'm going to let Mike make his choice. But listen, if you give me a coach like Andy Reid and you give me a quarterback like Patrick Mahomes, I'm going to go there. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, this Eagles team is fully loaded. Offensive line, defensive line. I love their secondary. I love the backfield. They've got so many areas that makes them a formidable opponent. I see this as like a heavyweight fight. 2 number 1 seeds going at it. But if I'm rolling with a coach and a quarterback, it's got to be with the Chiefs. What about you, Mike?
I'm going to go in a different direction. I think this is going to be a really close game. I mean, because of Solomon's points that he made there about 2 heavy hitters here. But I expect a real close game and a late drive by the Eagles in the fourth quarter. I'm going to call the score too, Solomon.
There you go.
31-24 Eagles.
I like it. Look, I think it's that close and almost too close to call.
Yeah, it's really close. I think you guys are both right. It's the better roster versus the proven coach and better quarterback, and which one wins. So should be a heck of a game. Again, make sure you check out Calmposure at CALMposure.com. Use that promo code touchdown like Solomon mentioned. Fellas, I really appreciate the time. Hopefully next year we're doing this in person at Super Bowl 58.
All right. Thanks, James. Thanks for having us.